Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari
Gopi Jana on your shirt right there. Girivaradari
Shodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Vivjakacharya Astotar Tatashi Shrimad Nityalila Pravistis Divine Grace Shilabhaya Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj ISKCON's BB Pound Acharya Jagadguru Padita Bhavana Srila Prabhupada Ki Srila Prabhupada's arrival anniversary in the United States of America Ki Shri Radha Govinda Ki Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So I'm speaking on Prabhupada's arrival, but am I also supposed to read the Shrimad Bhāgavatam? Yes or no?
Yes. 15 and 16.
That's kind of a too much to do, actually. Anasuya, the wife of Atri Muni, gave birth to 3 very famous sons. Soma, Dattatreya, and Durvas, who were partial representations of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, and Lord Brahma. Soma was a partial representation of Lord Brahma. Dattatreya was a partial representation of Lord Vishnu, and Durvas was a partial representation of Lord Shiva. Purport: in this verse we find the words Atma Isha Brahma Sambhavan. Atma means the supersoul or Vishnu, Isha means Lord Shiva, and Brahma means the four-headed Lord Brahma. The three sons of Anasuya, Dattatreya, Durvasa, and Soma were born as partial representations of these three demigods. Atma is not in the category of the demigods or living entities because he is Vishnu. Therefore, he is described as Vibhanamsa Bhutanam. The Supersoul Vishnu is the seed-giving father of all living entities, including Brahma and Lord Shiva. Another meaning of the word Atma may be accepted in this way: the principle who is the Supersoul in every Atma, or one may say the soul of everyone, became manifested as Dattatreya because the word Amsa, part and parcel, is used here. In Bhagavad Gita, the individual souls are also described as parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or Supersoul. Or why not accept that Dattatreya was part of those parts? Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are also described here as parts, so why not accept all of them as ordinary individual souls? The answer is that the manifestations of Vishnu and those of the ordinary living entities are certainly all parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and no one is equal to him. But among the parts and parcels, there are different categories. In the Varaha Purana, it is nicely explained that some of the parts are Svamsa and some are Vibhanamsa. Vibhanamsa parts are called Jivas, and Svamsa parts are in the Vishnu category. In the Jiva category, the Vibhanamsa parts and parcels, there are also gradations. That is explained in the Vishnu Purana, where it is clearly stated that the individual parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord are subject to being covered by the external energy called illusion or Maya. Such individual parts and parcels who can travel to any part of the Lord's creation are called Sarvagata and are suffering the pangs of material existence. They are freed from the coverings of ignorance under material existence according to different levels of work and under different influences of the modes of material nature. For example, the sufferings of jivas situated in the mode of goodness are less than those of jivas situated in the mode of ignorance. Pure Krishna consciousness, however, is the birthright of all living entities because every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. The consciousness of the Lord is also in the part and parcel, and according to the proportion to which that consciousness is cleared of material dirt, the living entities are differently situated. In the Vedanta Sutra, the living entities of different gradations are compared to candles or lamps with different candle power. For example, electric bulbs have the power of 1,000 candles, some have the power of 500 candles, some have the power of 100 candles, 50 candles, etc. But all these electric bulbs have light. Light is present in every bulb, but the gradations are different. Similarly, there are gradations of Brahman. The Vishnu Svamsa expansions of the Supreme Lord are in different Vishnu forms are like lamps. Lord Shiva is also like a lamp, and the supreme candle power, or the 100% light, is Krishna. The Vishnu Tattva has 94%, the Shiva Tattva has 84%, Lord Brahma has 78%, and the living entities are also like Brahma, but in the conditioned state. Their power is still more dim. There are gradations of Brahman, and no one can deny this fact. Therefore, the words Atmesha Brahma Sambhavan indicate that Dattatreya was directly part and parcel of Vishnu, whereas Durvasa and Soma were parts and parcels of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. It's a very clear and easy to understand explanation from Srila Prabhupada, or that what might seem to be or might taken to be a difficult subject matter is made very easy to understand by the pure devotee who knows things as they are. Text 16. After hearing this, Vidura inquired from Maitreya, "My dear master, how is it that the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who are the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the whole creation, became the offspring of the wife of Atri Muni?" Purport. The inquisitiveness of Vidura was quite fitting, for he understood that when the Supersoul, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva all appeared through the person of Anasuya, the wife of Atri Muni, there must have been some great purpose. Otherwise, why should they have appeared in such a way? That's logical. We were just hearing. So when you come and go through the door, you have to make sure the door closes all the way, holding it with your hand so it doesn't make a sound until the thing is fixed. All the choppers, cutters, collators, and other noisemakers, please keep this in mind. Make it a little louder so I can hear it better. Somebody who has musical ability can make like a concert or something. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarane Om Jnana Timarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Mitam Dhyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Datati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrudatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubias Cha Kripasindubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vatsadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Dibyad Brindaranya Kalpa Drumadash, Rasingha Sanasto, Shrimad Radha, Srila Govinda Stalabi, Savyamano Smarami. After a 35-day journey from Calcutta, the Jaladuta reached Boston's Commonwealth Pier at 5:30 a.m. on September 17th, 1965. So this is one of the important functions, exclusively important functions, that the devotees of, they call themselves New Gundicha Mandir, Boston Temple, on this day annually they gather at the Commonwealth Pier, which over the decades has been turned into a very fancy tourist attraction. So the pier is very long. It's practically nearly a third of a mile from out into the water, and it's a large rectangle. Inside the rectangle is all of the bells and whistles and fancy things. But you can actually completely circumambulate the entire pier. You can walk all along it. So what would have been the place where the Jaladuta had docked, it's actually pinpointed and understood. And as it's a good distance out from the land, so to speak, into the water, you have a very interesting placement on the pier within the Boston Harbor. And as it's facing east, you can see the sun rising over many different islands and parts of the Boston Harbor. It's actually quite inspirational. The ship was to stop briefly in Boston before proceeding to New York City. Among the first things Srila Prabhupada saw in America were the letters A and P painted on a pierfront warehouse. I believe they no longer exist. There used to be a big supermarket chain. The gray waterfront dawn revealed the ships in the harbor, a conglomeration of lobster stands and drab buildings, and rising in the distance, the Boston skyline. So again, this whole area has undergone a great transformation. It's one of the more opulent and affluent parts of Boston. They even have a outdoor concert venue holding 5,000 people just nearby. Place to do book distribution. Prabhupada had to pass through the United States Immigration and Customs in Boston. His visa allowed him a 3-month stay, and an official stamped it to indicate his expected date of departure. Captain Pandya invited Prabhupada to take a walk into Boston, where the captain intended to do some shopping. So this is Prabhupada's first steps into the United States, and the very important prayer song that he wrote while on board the Jaladuta, which we were about to see. This first walk through Boston contributed to his already deeply intense meditation and prayerful sojourning with his spiritual master and Krishna, which is a constant throughout his entire life, but especially at this point where at all risk and with all faith he is actually enacted, put into action, as we say, put our money where our mouth is. So many people can talk, but who actually delivers and performs. Aside from the fact that he had now set foot in America, was that at Commonwealth Pier he wrote another Bengali poem entitled Markani Bhāgavad Dharma. So of course the first one was discussed during the time of Radhastami, where Srila Prabhupada made the incredible statement that I emphatically say to you, O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani is pleased with you. And unlike other Vaishnava prayers to Srimati Radharani, where detailed description and insight based on the Mahabhagavat pure devotee's actual position in direct service to Her Majesty, Srila Prabhupada describes or transfers us from the direct, emphatic instruction to achieve the mercy of Srimati Radharani as the prerogative of one's life, if one even thinks or hopes to get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. He goes on to describe Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, making it clear for all of us to understand his unparalleled position in service to the Supreme Lord, hence Srimati Radharani, and that is characterized, symptomized, and clearly seen by his intense desire and empowerment all over the world. So that is the clue, secret, direct instruction beyond any doubt or ambiguity or speculation, what each and every one and all of us should be doing if we want to get the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his chief pleasure expansion, Srimati Radharani, is also to take part in the service of such a great devotee, Vaishnava, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, by trying to expand Krishna consciousness all over the world, taking into account the fallen position of everyone in this Kali Yuga, and without being repelled or disgusted by the situation, but to actually embrace it, understanding that in this yuga, the Lord's yuga avatar, his primary move is very deep and unlimited and unfathomed compassion. So hence the Vaishnavas in this yuga, in this time, adopt that karuna, compassionate mood as well. As the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, a flood of transcendental ecstasy will certainly cover the land. When all the sinful, miserable living entities become happy, the Vaishnava's desire is then fulfilled. Very important chapter, but perhaps not so much emphasized. And even Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami recommends this chapter if one wants to actually understand the process of conversion or transfer from sinful life to the life of Prema Bhakti by Lord Chaitanya. Is the Madhya Lila chapter 7, Lord Chaitanya's tour of the holy places in South India, expanded Krishna consciousness simply by performing Harinam Sankirtan. how the holy name became the all-encompassing agent, and Krishna himself, but the agent of Krishna's compassion, his mission, what Krishna wanted to accomplish, he did by the expansion of himself in the holy name. By his strong desire, the holy name will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world, and all the cities, towns, and villages on the earth, from the ocean, seas, rivers, and streams, everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said of himself, what word did he use? My fault is that I cannot think small. So this statement, all the villages, cities, towns on the entire earth, so we should not be satisfied with the level of Krishna consciousness that we are seemingly taking part in, that this is enough. It's not enough. Very, very small. So we need more and more persons to actually adopt the mentality of service to such Vaishnavas as Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and also on their behalf, in their service, also think big and act big. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am not worthy or fit to do it. I am very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, now I am begging for your mercy so that I may become worthy, for you are the wisest and most experienced of all. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul. But I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, it's a terrible place. It's quite different than I want to go and I am doing and I decide and I don't want this. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied. And therefore, they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva, Krishna. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. So, when there is pain in one part of the body, all the attention goes to that part, right? If you have a toothache or whatever, you stub or slam your toe in the door, and conscious of your whole body, but all of a sudden, all attention is where that intense pain is. The whole body of all living entities. So when certain living entities are in a diseased, Prabhupada says in one place, when the living entity declares himself to be, it is understood that such living entity is in a diseased condition of life. Devotees in a pure state, living entities in a pure state are called devotees. I see there are many saintly persons indeed, living in secluded places. They're not interested in the big cities and towns. As for me, Prahlad Maharaj says, I don't wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside these poor fools and rascals. So this is not sentimental compassion, but it is based on knowledge. What is the experience of everyone who came into Srila Prabhupada's presence? His disciples, who are soon to be, or meant to be disciples. He knows everything about me, just by a quick surveillance glance in the midst of hundreds and even thousands of people in a room. Not, like the FBI or the police, something, we got you under surveillance. But the pure devotee can see who we are, not only realizing our full potential, but sincerely wanting us to attain that. And based on full spiritual, mystical, devotional empowerment to accomplish that. You say these stumbling blocks. What are these stumbling blocks? With one kick of my boot, I can kick these stumbling blocks out. It's not that Maya is strong, but your purpose is weak. But I know that your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service, O Lord? I am simply praying for your mercy so I will be able to convince them about your message. The sweetness of relationship with Krishna, Krishna Sambandha, always stands triumphant over any type of materialistic sense gratification, gross or subtle, even in the grand metropolis of New York City. Why? Because all such things have no deep and profound basis. And even if they seem to have such things, which they don't actually, it's all temporary. The shelf life, expiry, and not just that, say like, okay, we gotta have this thing and it all expired and no good, and we all know it's no good, but your shelf life and expiry date is there, and then when it's done and when it's over, there's a whole new set of people, so-calledly younger than you, with as much, if not more enthusiasm to pursue the stupid thing than you did. Or that they think that their pursuance of it is much better and cooler than yours was so many years ago. And you're left with nothing except dashed hopes and false dreams. This is Maya. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service, which remain the same and always increase? Ever new and fresh. Ananda Vardhana, Prema Niketana, Fulasara, Jojaka Kama. Krishna is ever expanding the ecstasy of his pure devotees. He is the transcendental Kama, the creator of all new variegated desires in love of Godhead, in that Premamboj atmosphere, which is the atmosphere that we should be living in, not in this temporary sense gratificatory atmosphere. So the pure devotee, when he's here, he knows how to turn dreams into reality. the memory of Shama Sundar, who Prabhupada saw right away was quite the daredevil kind of risk-taking, just kind of heroic kind of person, and just engaged him in doing all kinds of incredible things. And Shama Sundar he realized, I've tried every type of thrill, anything and everything available for some type of happiness in this world. I've tried it, but nothing there to be in Prabhupada's direct association. It was the greatest thrill and greatest happiness of my life, and I tried to very greedily take as much as I possibly could. And Prabhupada came to London for over 2 months in 1973. Prabhupada, you can't leave. We have 2 months of important people, famous people coming to see you every single day. All right, how can I leave? All living entities have come under the control of the illusory energy by your will, and therefore, if you like, by your will, to be released from the clutches of illusion. I wish that you may deliver them. This is important. We should personally wish to impart Krishna consciousness to the people that we personally have interaction with. Not that it's just a formula or that it's a mechanical process or it's some type of automatic thing. Therefore, if you so desire this deliverance, their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I'm very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message, so if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands, so if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. So after all of these humble supplications, what does he say? I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhakti. Like you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. So we should similarly put our life on the line and allow the Supreme Judge, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to decide what is to be done with our life. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18th September 1965. Six years later, in the summer of 1971, Srila Prabhupada installed the deities of Radha and Krishna in Boston and named them Shri Shri Radha Gopi Vallabha, which is quite an extraordinary name. Shri Shri Radha Gopi of full, pure love of Godhead. He was now in America. He was in a major American city, rich with billions, populated with millions, and determined to stay the way it was. Prabhupada saw Boston from the viewpoint of a pure devotee of Krishna. So Boston, of course, one of the founding cities of the United States, colonial New England, actually the first settlement in Jamestown, Virginia, 1607, and so 13 years later, in 1620, puritanical pilgrims from England arrived in Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is on the Cape Cod Peninsula, and Boston became a very integral part of the British colonial period and was very important, played a very important role in the American Revolution from the British in the 1700s. And over the years, Boston to be one of the leading educational centers in the country and even in the world. The League schools, which were founded in the 1600s, Harvard, Brown, Yale, Dartmouth, that I can think of, all from that area, all from the 1600s. And of course, Harvard, I think, is practically ranked second in the world, only second to Oxford University, there in Cambridge in the UK, and has recently become a very important place of technology. It's a very affluent city, a very puffed up city. People are very proud there. It's not as easy, I would say, on one level of ascertainment or analyzation as New York is for preaching Krishna consciousness. It's also a much smaller city. And devotees over the years who have been there, you will hear them remark, tough town. And dedicated to stay the way that it was. He saw the hellish city life, people dedicated to the illusion of material happiness. All his dedication and training moved him to give these people the transcendental knowledge and saving grace of Krishna consciousness, yet he was feeling weak, lowly, and unable to help them on his own. He was but an insignificant beggar with no money. He had barely survived the 2 heart attacks at sea. He spoke a different language. He dressed strangely. Yet he had come to tell people to give up meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling, and teach them to worship Lord Krishna, who to them was a mythical Hindu god. What would he be able to accomplish? Helplessly, he spoke his heart directly to God. I wish that you may so that I can convince them. And for convincing them to trust in the power of God's holy name and in the Shrimad Bhāgavatam. The transcendental sound would clean away desire for material enjoyment from their hearts and awaken loving service to Krishna. On the streets of Boston, Prabhupada was aware of the power of ignorance and passion that dominated the city, but he had faith in the transcendental process. He was tiny, but God was infinite, and God was Krishna, his dear friend. The next day, on the 19th of September, the Jaladuta sailed into New York Harbor and docked at a Brooklyn pier at 17th Street. So coming out of Boston Harbor and coming down around Cape Cod, not going over the North Fork of Long Island, Orient Point, entering the Long Island Sound, but going around Montauk Point and going along the south shore of Long Island, some miles from the famous beaches, Fire Island, Robert Moses, Jones Beach, Rockaway Beach, Coney Island, under the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, into New York Harbor, and finally here at Sunset Park, Brooklyn, 17th Street, which of course now is a Home Depot, which has next door the New York City Sanitation Department receiving place where they crush all the trash as much as they can, making a very nice noise or sound while they do it. Srila Prabhupada saw the awesome Manhattan skyline, the Empire State Building, and like millions of visitors and immigrants in the past, the Statue of Liberty. Srila Prabhupada was dressed appropriately for a resident of Vrindavan. He wore kunti mala, neck beads, and a simple cotton dhoti, and he carried his japa mala, chanting beads, and an old chadar or shawl. His complexion was golden, his head shaven, sikha in the back, head decorated with a whitish Vaishnav tilak. He wore pointed white rubber slippers, not uncommon for sadhus in India. But who in New York had ever seen or dreamed of anyone appearing like this Vaishnava? He was possibly the first Vaishnav sannyasi to arrive in New York with uncompromised appearance. Of course, New York giving much attention to any kind of strange new. Srila Prabhupada was on his own. He had a sponsor, Mr. Agarwal, somewhere in Pennsylvania, northern Pittsburgh suburbs, Butler. Surely someone would be here to greet him. Although he had little idea of what to do as he walked off the ship onto the pier, I did not know whether to turn left or right. He passed through the dockside formalities. Again, immigration was done in Boston, and was met by a representative from a now defunct organization, but was very, very important in the past here, Travelers Aid Society, sent by the Agarwals in Pennsylvania, who offered to take him to the Scindia ticket office in Manhattan to book his return passage to India. Isn't that nice? Okay, his unwitting hosts sent someone from Travelers Aid. Of course, they're going to take him to the bus, as we see, but you can book your return ticket. At the Prabhupada spoke with the ticket agent, Joseph Foster, who was impressed with this unusual passenger's Vaishnava appearance, his light luggage, and his apparent poverty. He regarded Prabhupada as a priest. Most of Scindia's passengers were businessmen or families, so Mr. Foster had never seen a passenger wearing the traditional Vaishnav dress of India. He found Prabhupada to be a pleasant gentleman who spoke of the nice accommodations and treatment he had received aboard the Jaladuta. Prabhupada asked Mr. Foster to hold space for him on a return ship to India. His plans were to leave in about 2 months. And he told Mr. Forster that he would keep in touch. Carrying only 40 rupees cash, which he called himself a few hours spending money in New York, and an additional $20 he had collected from selling 3 volumes of the Bhāgavatam to Captain Pandya, Srila Prabhupada, with umbrella and suitcase in hand, and still escorted by the Travelers Aid representative, set out for the Port Authority bus terminal to arrange for his trip to Butler bus station, distributing his transcendental literature. And this bus station is still in the same position that it was all these years ago. It has not been renovated since. So if you ever walk around the bus station, it's the same configuration. But you better look fast because they're proposing a multi-billion-dollar renovation that will take the next 6 or 7 years. And the bus came swinging out of the terminal into the daylight of midnight. A bus out of the Port Authority bus terminal in New Jersey. Raise their hand. They have what's called, when you go into the Lincoln Tunnel, a helix. And the bus terminal has a special ramp that spits all the buses out right into the Lincoln. They have their own ramp into the Lincoln Tunnel. That's why you should ride the bus and not drive a car. Riding along in the shadows of skyscrapers through asphalt streets crowded with people, trucks, and automobiles, and into the heavy traffic bound towards the Lincoln Tunnel. The bus entered the tunnel and emerged on the Jersey side of the Hudson River. Continuing down the New Jersey Turnpike, fields of huge oil tanks and sprawling refineries. The Manhattan skyline was on the left, while 3 lanes of traffic sped 60 miles an hour in each direction. So they've increased it since then, and I believe it is 12 lanes, 6 lanes on going each direction. Newark Airport came up close by on the right, with jets visible on the ground. Electric power lines spanning aloft between steel towers stretched into the horizon. Srila Prabhupada had never before witnessed anything of such magnitude. He was now seeing for himself that American culture was based on passion for more and more sense gratification, and it was a scene of madness. For what important business were people rushing to and fro at such breakneck speed? He could see their goals advertised on the billboards. Of course, he had many times traveled the roads from Delhi to Vrindavan, but it did not have as many advertisements. A traveler would see mostly the land, roadside streams, temples, homes, farmers in their fields. Most people went on foot or traveled by ox cart or bicycle. And in Vrindavan, even the ordinary passerby greeted each other by calling the names of God. Jai Radhe, Hare Krishna. Now there were factories outside Delhi, but nothing like this. And the culminative effect did not pack nearly the materialistic punch of these fields of oil tanks, mammoth factories, and billboards alongside the crowded superhighway. Meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling. The very sins Srila Prabhupada had come to on mile after mile of billboards. Prabhupada had come to teach the opposite, that happiness is not found in the passion of sense gratification, that only when one becomes detached from the mode of passion which leads to sinful acts can one become eligible for the eternal happiness of Krishna consciousness. The compassion of a Krishna conscious saint had been explained in an age long ago by Prahlad Maharaj. I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or to the forests to meditate with vows of silence. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. The scenery gradually changed to the Pennsylvania countryside, and the bus sped through long tunnels in the mountains. It was late, after 11, when the bus entered the heavenly industrialized Pittsburgh area on the shore of the Allegheny River. So if anyone travels by car to New Vrindavan from New York, you will be going along the exact same route that Srila Prabhupada took on his journey to Butler, Pennsylvania. Srila Prabhupada couldn't see their lights and their industrial fires and smoking stacks. Millions of lights shone throughout the city's prevailing dinginess. When the bus finally pulled into the terminal, Pittsburgh, it was past midnight. Gopal Agarwal was waiting with the family Volkswagen bus to drive Prabhupada to Butler, about 1 hour north. He greeted Prabhupada with folded palms and said, "Welcome, Swamiji," bowing from the waist several times. So Srila Prabhupada has made it to the United States. He's made it to New York City, and he's now taken the bus from the Port Authority bus terminal and been picked up in Pittsburgh and driven to the quiet suburb of Butler, where he will spend his first month in the United States before coming back to New York City to take up residence at Dr. Mishra's penthouse, and then windowless yoga studio, showerless, kitchenless room at the end of October of 1965. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.